Hey guys, what is going on? This is NGS back for another video about Final Fantasy VII Remake. I didn't expect to make one so soon, but I think after what happened last night with the announcement that the story for Final Fantasy VII will be broken up into multiple parts, the internet kind of went batshit insane, to say the least. So we've gotten more information regarding the remake, the game's development, the type of engine that it's using, and an actual reason as to why the game is going to be split into multiple parts. So this is going to be a news roundup video of all of the articles that have come out in the past 15 hours. First and foremost, I want to say that, if I miss a couple of things that are going to be revealed in the next couple of hours, I apologize for that. And also, again, I'm not here to speculate on whether or not this is going to be, the be-all, end-all, good thing or bad thing. I'm just here to aggregate all the news and then give my thoughts and opinions on the subject matters. First and foremost, I want to say that I was pleasantly surprised by the comments that were left on the last video. I think a lot of people were pretty level-headed for the most part, simply because, it's so easy for us to overreact on a situation when we don't know much information. I mean, I can be a reactionary at some points. I think some people understand that. But considering that we really didn't know much about this, obviously, there wasn't really much for me to go crazy about. But I saw that there were a lot of interesting comments in regards to the story of the game and how it could be set up and structured. Some people were comparing it to Xenosaga, how it might be 3 episodes long, each game being, its own game. There were a lot of different theories that were thrown out in the comment section, so I want to say thank you for everyone who participated in the discussion. Now let's get on to the actual... Excuse me while I refresh this page. Let's get on to the actual story at hand. Of course, I'll be running into technical difficulties. There we go. Again, coming from the great guys over at Nova Crystallis, or Crystallis. I say Crystallis because it has a little bit of a to it. There are 3 news stories in particular regarding the Final Fantasy VII Remake. First and foremost, let's start off with the easiest one, which is the development of the game. CyberConnect2, it was rumored a couple of months ago at E3 that they were in talks with Square Enix for a particular project. And now we've learned that they're assisting with the development of Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm just going to call it the game from now on, for Christ's sake. This is really not a shocker to me for multiple reasons. Number one, CyberConnect2 has been known to help a lot of studios out with certain games. Some that are their own, some that are not their own for different studios and publishers. They're a pretty versatile development team. So this is no shocker to me that they would be, asked to help with this project. The second one, and I think it's kind of obvious for everybody who plays Japanese RPGs, Square Enix is known for taking their time to develop these franchises. It's something that's become, a detrimental meme to them, how they're spending so much time developing these games. I mean, look at Final Fantasy Versus 13. Not counting all the developmental problems that it's been in. This game we've known about for a decade. In that time, so many franchises have started, have come back, have completed trilogies. It's just insane. If you're looking at, the Assassin's Creed series from 1, you're looking at Mass Effect, you're looking at so many series that have come out and revolutionized a particular genre, and we still can't get Final Fantasy Versus 13 or Final Fantasy 15, whatever. So the whole meme behind Square Enix's development is that they take way too freaking long in these games, and we're not here to argue whether or not that's a good thing because quality and all that. We're not here to discuss that. But them having another studio help them out with this kind of makes sense, considering that they're juggling so many projects right now. Not only are they, finishing up final work on FF15, they're also doing Kingdom Hearts 3. They're doing the new Dragon Quest game. They have Final Fantasy VII Remake and just all the other stuff they have in the pipeline. And these are not just small, low-budget games. These are AAA titles. This is the stuff that they're going to be reporting to their, shareholders, to the stockholders, saying, hey, we made a great success off of this game. So having all of these projects that are going to come out within, the next 3 years or so, that is a huge undertaking that I was kind of skeptical about. So them bringing in other help for this game, no real shocker to me, and I really don't care because, well, it's not a big deal to have another studio assisting you if you need it. And it's not the first time. I think Tri-Ace was helping on the development for the Final Fantasy 13 series. So, there you go. The second thing, we'll touch on that later, is the the a little bit more of development information on the game. FF7 Remake is going to be built on the Unreal Engine 4. This is something that I am very, very, very freaking happy to hear because first and foremost, from a developmental standpoint, there are so many benefits of using Unreal Engine 4. I don't want to get into the real nerdy techno mumbo jumbo, but it's a very, very versatile engine, and I'm so glad that more people are using it. And it makes a lot more sense for Square Enix too, because when you're looking at how much money that they spend into research and development on proprietary engines, sure, the games look beautiful. They're, generation defining looking games, but that takes so much time and effort. And when you're weighing out, the benefits of whether or not we should spend all this extra time making a new engine as opposed to using something like Unreal, I think it kind of speaks for itself. And this isn't the first Square Enix game to use it. Kingdom Hearts 3 and the new Dragon Quest are going to use it. So this is very good for them. If it means that we're going to get the game out faster, I'm all for it. And let's be honest, guys, they really have not gotten much benefit out of the engine that they've been spending so much time on. I think they only used that on the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy and maybe Final Fantasy 14. I'm not sure on the latter, but yeah, the fact that they're doing this, it makes a lot more sense. And it means that when they're bringing it to other platforms, porting could be potentially easier. PC. And moving on to the last news story of the day, and this is where the meat of the video is going to be, so, get some popcorn if you haven't gotten it already. This is more of an update on the, story of the game and why it's being split into multi-parts. I kept saying episodic in the other video when it's actually a multi-part thing. Episodic, multi-part, I know a lot of people think they're interchangeable, but there is a difference between them. So, Final Fantasy VII Remake is a multi-part series. Please tell us more about it. The idea that a remake of Final Fantasy VII would not fit into a single release was there from the very beginning. We still can't share information about its multiple parts, but please look forward to future announcements. If we dedicated our time to a single release, parts of it would have to be summarized. We'd have to cut some parts, additional parts would come in few, so rather than remake the game as a full volume, we decided to put it in multiple parts. As you can see in the trailer, we showed Sector 1 and Sector 8, but in those areas alone, I think you can see a lot of density. When you're remaking the entirety of the original version in that quality, it's not possible to fit it all in one release. Okay, this is where I kind of have issues with the reasons why it's multi-part. I mean, a lot of people assume that, it's multi-part because they want to milk us. It's multi-part because they want to do more with the story. This is where I'm kind of confused. So if we're looking at the statements from both Kitase and Nomura-san, of course I just went full weeaboo mode, I had to. They're just basically saying that the reason why we're splitting this up is because we couldn't tell the story of Final Fantasy VII the way we wanted to. I don't buy that for a second. Why in the age of 2015, in this current modern gaming generation, are you unable to tell a vast, expansive RPG story? Okay? I've played Final Fantasy VII. Sure, it was very good for its time, but it's not impossible to remake that in 2015. If what they're asking to do, if what they want to do is just go above and beyond, I'm pretty sure it's possible to do that in one game. I mean, you not to draw comparisons to stuff like The Witcher or Skyrim or Fallout or, just many games like that, but those are very, very vast open world games with stuff going on in them that the Final Fantasy series couldn't even begin to do. And those games aren't multiple parts. And I know it's a difference of, engines and what they're doing with certain games. Yeah, I get it, people, but why do you need to split this up like that? Is it because of storage constraints? Is that what they're saying? I mean, Nomura says that it would be summarized here. We'd have to condense certain things. Storage constraints? So are you trying to split this into 3 separate games? 3 separate 55 gigabyte games? That's where I kind of have a problem. Like, how big is this game going to be that you're going to have to split up into this story into, I say 3 parts as a trilogy, but who knows how big this could be? So that's where I kind of am pretty confused. Like, I don't think there's enough story content, not just story content, but just world content that would warrant 350 gigabyte dual layered Blu-ray disc experiences. Like, how long is this going to be? Now, if it was something like, 20 gigabytes here, 20 gigabytes there, you get like 20 hours, 25 plus hours of story. Oh yeah, sure, I could get that. Maybe that's why you want to release it as multiple parts. But full separate releases? That's pretty crazy. And I think he elaborates on that later on. But I'm not buying this for a second. Like, this is kind of a big problem with Square Enix. They're way too ambitious to the point where it's actually detrimental to the company. If they're out here talking about wanting to do these big, massive scaled games, you don't want to spend like 30 years on that sort of thing. You got to be realistic. I mean, of course, as a developer, you want to make the best game that you can, but there's got to be limits and constraints, and sometimes you do need to have a second person come in there to say, hey, calm it down, slowly roll. Anyway, they talk more about the battle system, saying it's going to be more command-based. It's going to be based off of the Dissidia series with some Kingdom Hearts elements. It won't be entirely action-based, but it's going to be more action-focused, which makes a lot of sense if you look at the trailer. You know, I still haven't seen too much of the trailer to justify whether or not it's going to be one or the other. I know in the last video we did, we kind of assumed that it was. But I mean, we weren't wrong when we said there were influences from Kingdom Hearts and now Dissidia Final Fantasy. But like I said, we're just going to have to wait to see more gameplay elements. For the sake of a stress-free battle, Zobia was kind of right. I guess they are kind of casualizing it. Because last time we heard them say stress-free battle, we got auto command in Final Fantasy 13. In the end, it's based off Final Fantasy 7, so yada yada yada. It's going to appear. Of course, they got to give the vague, politically correct answer. You're going to still see some of the things. Will the story be adjusted at all? In addition to delving into these episodes more deeply, we're preparing a number of mechanisms and such. To those who played the original version will know the important parts and understand the story from beginning to end. Also, for these people, I hope they can be surprised once again. I don't want to remake to the end as something nostalgic. I want fans of the original version to get excited. We'll be making adjustments to the story with this feeling in mind. So, obviously, while the story is going to remain the same, they're going to go around and they're going to tinker with some things. I kind of predicted that they would be, you know, just including some of the stuff from the other games like Dirge of Cerberus and Crisis Core to kind of, you know, fill the gap, but I don't think they're going to go that route. Who knows? Maybe they might, and it'll just be like spliced in here and there, but well, there you go. It's going to be something fresh and new for the older fans, but not a complete nostalgia ride. Okay, so if we make them real, no one will recognize them. Advent Children models are too old, so they're refining the graphics. So everyone's getting new character models, which is pretty cool. I did like the designs for the Advent Children cast, but, you know, to the same degree, you know, new isn't necessarily a bad thing if they still look in line. Of course, the ever-popular cross-dressing scene will be included. That's going to be a highlight. And the battle speed they're aiming for is Dissidia Arcade. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But, yeah, that was pretty much the summary of the news that was released right now. There was also something else where Nomura was confirming that each of the multi-part episodes would be a full video game release. So, on that front, I assume what he's talking about is that they're going to be full-sized games. Overall, I can say that I'm kind of, I'm a bit more optimistic about it now that I know this, but not for the reasons you guys are expecting. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, you're more optimistic about it because it's not going to be episodic like Telltale. I mean, I never made any complaints. I never said that they were going to do something like a Telltale. But where I draw the line and where I have issues is that, I mean, I don't think this needed to be 3 parts of the story. I don't think it really warrants that. I mean, you could definitely make the story into one big game. So what are we going to have? Final Fantasy 7 1, Final Fantasy 7 2, and then Cloud Returns, Final Fantasy 7? It just makes no sense to me. Obviously, we know why they would do this if it's going to go this route. They obviously want the money. And I have no problem with a business if they're providing a good product or service, making money as long as they can. But where I draw the line is that where is this going to line up with the fact that we're assuming they're going to get this game out faster? I don't see how that's possible, because if you're making such a huge, massive game, this is obviously going to take some time. And even if they're separated by a year or so between releases, that's still kind of crazy to think about. I remember reading a report that it was at Jump Festa that they were going to, it was actually slated, Final Fantasy 7 Remake was going to appear at the next Jump Festa, which is very strange because they announced this game last year and you're used to not hearing about this stuff for years upon years. So the fact that it's showing up at that show, does that mean that it's in a more playable form? Does this mean that we might see the first part of this 16, 17 part saga next year? I don't know, but there's definitely something interesting going on in Square Enix, something that I never expected. Another thing that I did read in passing was that they wouldn't be including any microtransactions or DLC per the release. So that's very good to hear. They're not going to be charging, $15 for the, Life After Aerith map pack or something crazy like that. But yeah, that was all the Final Fantasy news stories that I found interesting today, which is pretty insane. I mean, there's so many reports. I found interesting. Let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments section. I'm NGS signing out, and if you haven't done so already, check out my Facebook and Twitter account. They were floating somewhere across the screen. I'll be talking extensively on that later. And yeah, from me to you for now, I'm NGS signing out, and like always, I will catch you guys later. Peace.